Kyrgyzstan is a country in Central Asia, bordered by Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, Kazakhstan, and China.
It began as a nomadic society, herding horses through the Tian Shan Mountains. Afterwards, the country was ruled over by the Mongols, the Chinese, and the Uzbeks. More than a millennium after the Arab conquest, Kyrgyzstan was conquered in 1876 by the Russian Empire, later turned into the Soviet Union, aka the USSR. About 20% of the population today is Russian Orthodox.
Part of the USSR actually helped Kyrgyzstan to develop quite a bit. Having to work together with other countries, it improved its education system quite a bit.
Kyrgyzstan basically depended on the Soviet Union. Once the USSR disbanded in the 90s, Kyrgyzstan was lost in a void of political chaos. The Soviet Union haphazardly chopped up Central Asia, and Kyrgyzstan was left leaderless.
The first president of Kyrgyzstan was Askar Akayev. When he was elected in 1991, Kyrgyzstan seemed to be headed towards a greater, more democratic future. Then, the Tulip Revolution in 2005 overthrew the president for corrupting the legislative system and rigging the elections.
Another president, Bakiyev, further corrupted the system. He even made a new constitution just to give himself more power.
Of course, the people led another bloody revolt in 2010. Bakiyev fled to Minsk, in Belarus.
Not only was the government having issues, but there were also ethnic problems as well. Kyrgyzstan's population is 71.4% ethnic Kyrgyz and 9% ethnic Russians, which are its official ethnicities. 14.4% of the population is ethnic Uzbek, clustered on the western part of Kyrgyzstan. Uzbekistan and Kyrgyzstan have had border disputes on their misplaced ethnicities in recent decades.
In addition, the infrastructure is very limited. There are 470 kilometers of railways, 34,000 kilometers of roads, and 600 kilometers of waterways. There are only 28 airports as of 2013, and of those, only 18 have paved runways.
Compare this to the UK, which is only slightly larger, but has 460 airports, 16,454 kilometers of railways, 394,428 kilometers of roads, and 3,200 kilometers of waterways. In addition, pollution is a huge problem. After several decades of unchecked agricultural practices, the land has been at risk for desertification, and access to clean water is hard to come by.
Outdated mining operations and improper waste disposal are also contributing to pollution.
Aside from the problems, Kyrgyzstan is a beautiful country full of amazing mountainous scenery. These mountains may also be used for exploiting natural resources.
Fortunately, there is hope. The government is currently attempting to ratify treaties to deal with desertification and hazardous wastes, and there are thousands of non-governmental organizations that could use funding to help improve. The first step would be to fund these NGOs so that they could assist with further improvements. We would also need to fund watchdogs to keep an eye on the government, as it still has some issues with corruption. The second step would be to improve the infrastructure by building new airports, roads, cell towers, and the like. Improving communications will make all further improvements far simpler to implement. The third step would be to deal with pollution, particularly the water pollution. Fortunately, as many of the contaminants in the country's water are non-halogenated semi-volatile organic compounds used in agriculture, as long as we monitor agricultural processes to ensure that no more contaminants enter, they will eventually filter out naturally. This will help greatly to increase the overall health of citizens. Fourth, once the pollution is cleared out, we can take part in the ecotourism industry to generate additional funding for further development. Fifth, we will need to construct more factories and other manufacturing buildings to take advantage of the many natural resources that the country has available. Emphasizing the secondary and tertiary sectors and exporting more value-added products will help them escape dependency on the more developed countries and reduce debt. However, we would need to keep a close eye on pollution to ensure that it doesn't become an issue again.